Flourless chocolate cake. This is a delicious recipe for flourless chocolate cake with a brownie-like center and a crackly top. It is simple, naturally gluten-free, and outrageously tasty. There are only a few ingredients needed to prepare this recipe for flourless chocolate cake. In essence, you have this if you have a single bowl and at least one arm for stirring. Since there is no baking powder or soda, the egg is the only leavener in flourless cake, which puffs up like a souffle in the oven. Without flour to stabilize the structure, the cake slides back down and regains its very rich and fudgy texture. A flourless chocolate cake is typically served cold, directly from the refrigerator. At room temperature, I like it. Whatever way you decide to serve it, it must first be well refrigerated to firm up to a sliceable texture and eliminate the eggy flavor. The cake can be dusted with confectioner's sugar and cocoa, or you can add a gentle dollop of whipped cream to each piece. Ingredients for a flourless chocolate cake. Dark chocolate is the best option here since the flavor will really come through. Butter can be either salted or unsalted. Sugar produces the sweetness and the top's crackly, brownie-like texture. Eggs. The eggs help the cake bond and leaven. The cake will have swelled up like a souffle right out of the oven. It will naturally collapse as it stands. To counteract the sweetness and complete the chocolate, add salt. Vanilla, to accentuate the flavor of the chocolate. How to make chocolate cake without flour. Melt butter and chocolate. Add salt, vanilla, sugar, and eggs to a bowl. Fill the prepared cake pan with the batter. Bake until the center is still jiggly but the top is puffy and cracked. Resist the urge to overbake. Place on a serving platter and fully cool. Use low heat, a bowl over simmering water or a microwave set to 50% power, to melt the chocolate, and stop heating it when it is about 80% melted, as shown above. Stir to complete the melting process. By doing this, the chocolate is kept from warming, seizing up, and becoming gritty as opposed to creamy and smooth. How can I tell when a chocolate cake without flour is done? The cake will have puffed up. The top will seem to be dry. The surface will have developed cracks. The center of the pan will still jiggle slightly when you gently shake it. To ensure a moist cake, the center must jiggle. As it cools, it will continue to cook in the hot pan, and once cooled, it will totally firm up. The cake will deflate after cooling in the pan for 20 minutes, as seen in the illustration below. That is typical. Next, carefully turn the cake over onto the wire rack after running a knife around the outside edge of the cake. Flip the dish in the same manner onto a serving platter after peeling off the parchment paper. Place in the refrigerator to completely firm up. Does gluten-free chocolate cake lack flour? Yes. This dish is a gluten-free wonder by nature. Just remember to check the chocolate label if you're feeding those who have celiac disease, and use fresh sugar and cocoa that hasn't been measured with flour to prevent cross-contamination. Ingredients: 9 ounces of dark chocolate, chopped. Unsalted butter, 8 ounces. Granulated sugar, 1½ cups. 6 giant eggs. A teaspoon of vanilla extract. 3/4 teaspoon kosher salt. Instructions. Set the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. A 9 by 2 inch round cake pan should be greased and lined with parchment paper. In a large microwave-safe bowl, combine the chocolate and butter. Microwave on 50% power for 2 minutes. Until the chocolate is 80% melted, stir and keep going at 50% power for 30 seconds at a time. Then aggressively swirl to complete melting. You want to avoid overheating chocolate, which can make it seize and turn grainy. After thoroughly incorporating the sugar with a firm arm, add the eggs approximately 1/4 cup at a time, totally blending after each addition. Salt and vanilla are whisked in. Scrape the batter into the prepared cake pan using a rubber spatula. Bake for approximately 35 minutes, or until the top is dry and cracked, but the center still jiggles just a bit. The cake should be placed on a wire rack to cool for 20 minutes in the pan. It will naturally deflate. With 2 hands, securely turn the cake top down onto the wire rack after setting the wire rack on top of the cake. Invert the cake again so that it is right side up on the serving platter as soon as possible using the same flipping technique. Serve after being chilled for at least 4 hours.